What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of ReZero. I enjoy this time of the week. I really love Sunday. I personally think, besides Tokyo Ghoul and JoJo Day, ReZero Day is my favorite. Just seeing this series, watching a new episode, it makes me unbelievably happy. This episode felt way too short. It did. I sat down, I finished it, as always, felt like 5 minutes. Too short to me. It felt way too short. And the way it concluded, oh my god. Just waiting for the next episode is going to be absolutely painful. So, I don't believe this video is going to be as long as my previous two. I highly doubt it will. But it might be a little bit long. I could easily see it being over 10 minutes, but I highly doubt it's going to be around 30 minutes long. But I'm just saying that right now. But getting right into it, though, that final scene of the episode, I want to dive into that before anything, okay? That final scene of the episode with the ringtone, I say it every week. I say it every week. I mean, the amount of quality and the production and just how much effort they're putting into this series is just fucking ridiculous. That ringtone, the way that was, the way that sounded, it was so good. It was so good. It put that atmosphere, that creepy vibe, and it kept it. Even though the song wouldn't normally be a creepy song the way it was, if you would have had that as your ringtone or something, it wouldn't be creepy. But the way it was thrown on top of the scene to where everybody's tense, everybody knows that something is coming that can kill a lot of people, or almost everyone, everybody's tense. And us as the viewer are very tense because there's multiple reasons why we would be. As we know, this is ReZero, and there's multiple deaths, a lot of suffering, and we've seen constantly all this type of trouble that Subaru has been in. And also, there was moments throughout the ending part of the episode where I believe that maybe the well wouldn't show up, and then everybody would look at Subaru as if he's a fucking liar, and that was tension I had too around that entire scene. So when I heard that ringtone going off, it was such a good ringtone. The vibe it had, it just gave you this right amount of, like, emotions to, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? You just start tensing up, like, is it gonna appear? Is people gonna die? Is Subaru gonna look like he's lying? I mean, us as the viewer know he's not lying, but everybody else might think he's lying, so we're all tensing up, like, what's gonna happen? And everybody else that's in the show, they're tensing up because they're about to go up against a life or death battle for, you know, against the White Well. And as that ringtone's going on, I'm like, yo, this is probably one of the best scenes, like, singly one of the best scenes of ReZero, besides, like, episodes in general and all that, but I just love the impact of this final part of the episode, the way it built up that emotion to the well appearing. Now, speaking of the well appearing, there's two things I want to talk about. For one, I love how Subaru and Rim were being used as a way to kind of get rid of the tension in the atmosphere, because everybody in the army, if you look at the final scene of the episode, you see all of the characters, everybody in the army, they're all freaking out. You see, like, sweat on their face, they're nervous, they're shifting their eyes back and forth and all that, because they don't know what direction the well's going to come from. They have no idea, they don't even know if it's going to appear, and as you know, waiting for an enemy to come at you is a scary freaking thing, and especially when you know this is a monster that's been, you know, in, like, folklore for, like, 400 fucking years, that's been killing people, and was made by the envious witch, you're gonna be scared. And so seeing everybody just, you know, shaking, looking around and all that, looking up and down everywhere, and when you just hear the roar of Subaru and Rim rushing in on the ground dragon, breaks that tension in the air, and they attack the White Well, that was a good moment just to remove that tension, because everybody else was being, you know, kind of drugged down, their morale was reaching an all-time low, and seeing Subaru go in like that and just charging in, not even caring, I love that scene, because everybody else is realizing, hey, this man is starting to charge, he's like, I'm gonna be the fucking meat shield, Leroy Jenkins! That's exactly what freaking Subaru did, and if you get that reference, 10 out of 10, because I'll tell you right now, that shit has happened to me a lot when I have played MMOs. Oh my god. I'll be sitting here being a DPS or a tank or something, trying to bring over the raid boss, and you have this fucking bitch go around. He's like, I'm gonna rush in, I'm a freaking healer, I'm a supporter, whatever. I'm gonna rush in and aggro everybody in the damn room, get my entire team killed. Let's do a wipe after we've been in this fucking dungeon for an hour and 30 minutes. Just like, ugh. when I saw that's exactly what Subaru reminded me of. He reminded me of one of those people, when you're in a dungeon, you've been in this dungeon for a god knows how long, and when he just yells, Leroy Jenkins, it goes in and aggroes the damn boss, and everybody has to go chase after his ass to make sure he's fine. That's exactly what that reminded me of, and oh my god, that was great. That was such a great moment, too. Just seeing how he broke the atmosphere, he went in, and everybody else was charging it after him. I like that. So, getting off of that scene, one of the big things about this episode is negotiations, and there's some rim scenes as well, just to see a little bit more about her characterization, how much she deeply cares about Subaru, which I'll save that for last. I want to talk about the big beef of this episode, which is how much Subaru has changed compared to last week's episode, and how he's came to realize how he needs to overcome his problems with his own self, and also how he has changed and learned from his previous experiences of his other lives. I love how majority of this episode was showing how Subaru has took steps to correct his issues that he has shown throughout this entire arc. One of the biggest ones is definitely seeing how he mellowed and calmed the fuck down. One of the big things about his character that we've been seeing in these recent episodes that's been showcasing his problems is that he is very desperate, he's nervous, he doesn't know what to do, he's like at that point of breaking, like he's in madness right now, he doesn't even know what to say, and because of all this, he was constantly going from people to people, trying to ask for help, and he looked like a madman, he looked like he was going absolutely crazy, and he was not calm when he was trying to negotiate with people, especially when he was trying to talk with Krush. I actually went back to watch that episode. I actually went back to watch it after I finished this episode. I watched this episode twice, and I went back to watch that entire scene with the first time Subaru asked all the different royal candidates for help. I went back to watch it just to see how different this negotiation was, and look at these key little signs here and there that parallel to each other. And I gotta say, just seeing some of these little nods to that previous episode to this episode, it makes me happy, because for one, I now understand why Krush decided to deny Subaru help. I completely understand now. It makes so much more sense, and now I know that Krush is not, someone that's very selfish and didn't care, but there was more to it than that, and I knew there had to be, but now seeing this episode clarify that, now I truly understand. So let me dive straight into that. As we all remember, when Subaru was going around asking everybody for help, he's like, I need your help, I need your help, I need your help. He's trying to negotiate, and he was like a baby. He didn't know how to talk or bring something to the table and know what the person he was talking to and negotiating with wanted. He had no idea. It was like his first time being a part of politics, and now that he's been able to have a new life, he now knows, he kind of knows what they want, or he kind of knows certain angles he could try to win them over. And when you see how in that episode he was confronting her and he was just rambling on like a madman, saying the witch's cult's going to attack, the witch's cult is going to attack, you need to save them, everybody's going to die, Amelia's going to die, and he's just sitting here rambling, he's just desperate, very desperate. And we understand, we saw what he was going through, we know how much pain he was going through, but also at the same time, at that time, we knew he was kind of being a little bit stubborn, prideful, and greedy, the way he was acting. And now seeing that Krush has the ability to detect lies, she can kind of understand if you're lying or not, this adds more depth to that entire scene with episode 16. As we know, Subaru truly was telling the truth. He was saying everything he knew, like that he could say, that the curse would allow him. He was talking about the witch's cult, he was talking about how everybody would die, how Amelia would die, he was talking about everything. He was talking about every single detail that he knew, and he was not lying. And as we know from what we found out in this episode, is that she can detect lies and know if you're telling the truth, or at the very least, she knows if you believe you're telling the truth. That's what I'm assuming. And so Subaru being at that point of madness to where he's just crazy, or he's just saying these things rambling on, you have it to where they're like, holy shit, this man, he truly believes what he's saying, and if this is really true, there's multiple reasons why we can't really help this man. For one, Subaru, he has this murderous intent. He wants to murder them. He wants to kill all these witches cold. And of course, they've done a lot of crazy shit in the past, yes. But I mean, for him to be going on like this, having this murderous intent, want to kill everybody, and then he's wanting to save everybody, and he truly believes all this, that the witches cult will attack in a couple of days. He wants to save Amelia. He's going to want to, Amelia Emilia to survive, and he's willing to offer over her candidacy to where she will no longer be one of the part of the, like, royal selection, and he's truly saying this, and then Crush actually realizes he's being truthful, he's not lying. That probably scared the fuck out of her, because you're like, how are you supposed to react to a man that believes what he is saying is actually true? And I can't really know if he's lying or not until I actually see it. And if he is telling the truth, that opens up an entirely new can of worms. You want to know why? Because one of the questions that she asked in that episode was that if you are correct, like for instance, let's just say you are telling the truth and the witch's cult will attack. How do you know? How do you know the witch's cult is going to attack the entire domain in what certain given amount of time, like what time of day or whatever? How do you know? And if you look at the recent episode, it was actually a similar line of questions that Crush asked Subaru in this episode. Like, how do you know the white whale will attack? Or like, what day and all that? How do you know? And Subaru answered because of his phone. His cell phone is the reason why. And because of this, Subaru, he couldn't really verify and clarify, like, how he knew. Because he can't talk about his curse. He can't talk about anything about how he can return by death. He can't say nothing like that. So, that's completely off the table. So, if he would have said something else like, oh, Rim told me, or, you know, my media, you know, or my media lets me know when it's, the witch's cult's going to attack, obviously that's a fucking lie. So, nobody's going to help him. She's going to instantly detect that he's lying, and she's not going to believe him because it looks like he's trying to cover up his tracks, that he might be a part of the witch's cult. So looking at it from that angle now, I can understand why she refused him and did not want to help him, because it was so suspicious. How would you know? And you're not even saying anything. You're not even giving a clarification to how you know this. It makes you look guilty as fuck, that like you're a part of the witch's cult. And of course, when Rim, there was actually a scene in that entire negotiation to where Crush asked Rim, like, do you believe this? Do you, you know, think he's actually telling the truth? And, like, do you think he's a part of the witch's cult or anything, or he has anything to do with the witch? And Rim said no. He's never had anything to do with the witch. And we know that's a damn lie. Even Rim knows that's a damn lie, because he has the witch's miasma coming off him. And even at the beginning of the episode, if you go back, Rim actually sees it. So, with that being said, Rim lied in that moment. She lied straight to Crush's face and said that, oh, he has no, like, you know, connection with the witch at all, even though she knew she did, or he did, and that would mean that Crush detected that lie and is like, oh, so she's hiding something. Why is she hiding something? So right there, that's when everything was thrown off and he could not get her help. Right there. So very good. I like how this episode clarifies that scene and makes it so much more impactful now. If I was to go back and watch other scenes of the series too, I wanted to bet I would see other things I didn't realize before. And that right there, it makes me appreciate ReZero more, because the rewatchability, how I could rewatch the series again and understand some of these scenes that were hinted at or foreshadowed for future episodes, it makes me happy. And that's something I really love from an anime or any type of literature when I'm sitting down to see something like this, where I can go back, look at certain parts, and like, oh shit, this has a lot more meaning than I thought it did when I first watched it or first read it. It has so much more meaning, and I'm glad I could do that with this series and see something like that when I was watching this episode. So getting off of that, let's talk about what the negotiations were about. For instance, Subaru talking to Crush about, you know, the white whale coming. So Subaru, he's covered all his tracks. He kind of laid out the groundwork for what needs to be done, and it's thanks to him dying and kind of knowing now that he has mellowed out and he was able to look at it from an outsider's perspective and realize what he needs to do. So thanks to Rim and thanks to him constantly dying and understanding, he now kind of knows what individuals want, what they kind of want to do, or how he can kind of make an angle of negotiations to where he can win them over. Especially how he used his cell phone to win over one of the merchants, the leader of the merchant guild. That was a very good move. To win over Russell like that, to win over that man by using his media to be able to like give it to him after the negotiations were done, that was a very smart move. I have to commend Subaru for doing that, because with any merchant, anyone you're trying to negotiate with, they want something. That's instantly what someone's going to do. Like, what do I gain out of this? Why do I negotiate with you? Like, I need something. I want to know what I need, or you need to know what I need or what I want. And that's the first thing you should try to do when you're negotiating with someone. You need to find out what the individual wants, what they're trying to do. How can you help them, and then they will help you? Because think about the way this negotiation was working, okay? Subaru is getting an entire army to take down the white whale. The reason for this, like, what's the main reason why he's doing this? He's using this army to take down the white whale for it can make him have a safe passage to get to Emilia and them over there in the village. That's the entire reason why he's doing this. He wants to make a safe passage for he can get there. But another thing on top of that indirectly, with him negotiating with her, there is a possibility that she will help out Subaru when the witch's cult attacks. And also on top of that, there was hints in this episode that Subaru, he still has a lot of things to learn. He can't plan out everything. Even though he's died a lot, he's improved a lot, he clearly let some things slip his mind. For one, the witch's cult. One of the biggest things that you think would be in his mind, he actually let slip out of his mind when it came to the negotiations in this episode. He actually got reminded of the witch's cult and how, like, a certain band or bandits or whatever can attack the carriages while they're going with their army to attack the White Well, and Subaru instantly thought in his mind, like, wait a minute, the witch's cult. And he's like, oh my, and he starts getting, like, you know, shocked on that because he didn't think about it. He's like, oh shit, how could I have forgotten something about this? Like, you know, how they could have attacked, you know, the entire band or something. And I mean, knowing Beetlejuice, he will do that shit. He would definitely go straight in and attack an entire army. He would give no shits whatsoever because we know what type of man he is. And since Subaru is around too, and you know how he actually could see all the great love of the envious witch that Beetlejuice can see off of Subaru, we know for a fact that Beetlejuice might pop up and actually do some shit. And because of this, indirectly, Subaru might deal with his problem, both problems. He could deal with the White Well, and he could deal with the witch's cult. Because think about this, what if Beetlejuice attacks the group while they're attacking the White Well? Of course, many people are probably going to die, but on top of that, though, you have it to where Beetlejuice's group will be attacking others, and they can be killed off, which settles both problems like that. Subaru can progress on, he can get to the town, he won't have to deal with the witch's attack or anything like that. He just needs to settle this right here, right now, where this battlefield is. So that is a likely possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that is a possibility, judging by the way it was set up in this episode. So one thing I want to talk about, too, is definitely getting to see the rim scene. The rim scene, that was such a beautiful scene. Beautiful, 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 beautiful scene. The way she straight up just said to Subaru, I know when you lie. I know when you are lying. I know. And she's like, I know there's some reason why you can't explain to me why you say these things, why you try to hide it or lie. I know there has to be some reason why. And don't worry, you don't have to tell me. Just, you know, I know when you're lying. You don't need to lie to me. I don't need you putting on this mask, this face. I know when you lie, and don't worry. I'm not going to hold it against you. I trust you. I have all my faith in you. And my God, when I saw that scene, I'm getting emotional right now. When I saw that scene, and Subaru was crying up, he was tearing up, I was like, yo, Subaru, my boy, like, I'm still fucking salty, my boy. I'm still salty what you did in last week's episode. And I mean, as I said, I'm glad Subaru didn't change his mind, and I'm glad he still loves Amelia, because you just can't control love. It's not something you can change. You cannot do that. And speaking of that, you know what? I need to dive into this. I need to say my piece on this, because I saw it in the comments. I've been seeing it in forum posts, on Twitter, all sorts of shit. Many people are really, really, really mad with Subaru's character. Like, they straight up hate him, and they also dropped the series ReZero because he denied Rim and went with Amelia. A lot of people said they were dropping the series, or they hated the series. The series is a 1 out of 10 now because of what happened in last week's episode, and I'm thinking, like, ReZero, it has a romance, okay? It does. But if you're gonna let a pairing destroy the series for you, I don't know what to say. Like, as I already said, I'm salty as fuck. Oh, I'm salty. I'm really motherfucking salty. I'll be the first one to admit that. I will. But I'm not gonna let an outcome of a pairing destroy my enjoyment of the series. Subaru is an amazing character, and he's even more human actually after denying Rim, because you just don't change your feelings for someone that quick. It's like this, okay? Let's say you have a wife, any of you, a girlfriend, wife, whatever, and you have someone you care about, you love, you're with them, and you like them a lot, and then all of a sudden this girl comes up to you and starts confessing to you. You're just not going to change your mind that easy, regardless of how much emotion she put into it and all that. You just don't change your love that easy, unless you're a very fickle person. You have a fickle heart, and you can change like that. It just shows you're a horrible human being, in general. I mean, Subaru would be a worse human being if he actually did something like that. If he fucking denied Amelia and went after Rim, he would be even worse. He would be an awful fucking person. personality. Like, his personality would be absolute shit if you would have done that, if you would have changed his love that easily. And I'm glad he's not fickle. Like, I'm looking at School Days right now. Fucking School Days. That perfect fucking example. If you've never seen School Days, look at that shit. Like, no, what? Don't look at that shit. That's a horrible fucking anime. Don't watch that. But still, jokes aside, I'm glad Subaru denied her. Okay? And anyone that dropped the series or is rating the series low because of a pairing, I don't know what to say. Okay? I feel like it's more human him denying Rim. And even then, okay, one of the things too that I'm glad didn't happen, if you would have ran off with Rim and been with Rim, it would have made Rim a worser character. Like, it would have made her a really awful character compared to what she was at the end of last week's episode. Let me explain. One of the reasons for this is because Rim willingly knew that Subaru loved Emilia, and then she also said at the beginning of last week's episode, like, if I was to run off with you, I'd be leaving the Subaru behind, the one I care about, the one I know. If I ran off with you, I'd be leaving this Subaru behind. And she didn't do that because she cares for him. And if she was to run off, it would be like she's a fucking selfish character. She's selfish. She ran off with him. She said, fuck everybody else. Even screw off with her sister. I just, I don't care about you. She just ran off. And that would diminish the quality of Rim's character if she did that. So I'm just going to instantly say, I'm glad Subaru chose Emilia. So let me get back on topic. Okay? I got completely off topic. Holy shit. My bad. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Okay. Back into the Rim stuff with fucking Emilia. I was gonna say Emilia. Back with the Rim and Subaru scene with Rim saying you don't need to lie to me. That added more life to her character and personality. Just to see how much she cares for him, that she willingly says, I have complete faith in you. I know you have to lie, and you're lying about certain things, and why you're not saying it, I understand. Just don't lie to me, I understand. If you can't say it, you can't say it. And that, if you didn't think Rim was best girl already, that scene alone, best girl. Fucking best girl award. Just throw that shit onto the damn, wall. I mean, seriously. Like, if I could honestly give a best girl award, like, if I had the power or something, I would throw that onto that damn screen right there. I would re-edit that and say, best girl awards and all that shit, because that scene, when Subaru tears up and all that, I'm like, yo, that's so sweet. I mean, just to see, because he realizes how much Rim cares for him, and the way she says that, you just see is like, that's something I've always wanted to hear. That you could tell the way his body movement was. That's something he wanted to hear. That is something he's wanted to hear since he came to this world. Someone that understands he can't say it. If he does, it can hurt you. I mean, he experienced that firsthand with Emilia. So knowing that Rim accepts him and understands, that probably was the best thing that Subaru has heard. Regardless of what he heard last week in last week's episode, I think that was probably the best thing he has heard. Because the emotions in his character's face, the way he showed that, I gotta give props to the animators, the production team for that scene. Just the way it was done, it was absolutely breathtaking. Probably, I always say it's one of the best scenes. Just, the series is so good. So yeah, episode ReZero. Oh my, episode 19. I think this episode, yeah, it's up in episode 19. Oh, damn, it's a good episode. And you know what? I haven't even got into Wilhelm. I haven't even got into his character. Oh my god. I have yet to even discuss it. This video might be longer than I thought. So, Wilhelm. He as a character, to be honest, I've seen a lot of anime, and I know when you have this old butler guy or old guy character in a series, they're usually OP, strong, or badass in some way. I expected it. It's what I see normally in anime, manga, light novels. It's what you should expect. But the characterization that Wilhelm got in this episode, I was just like, yo! This is a badass motherfucker. This man is badass. Like, he's badass. This man is holding 6 blades on his belt. Like, I'm not even joking. Go back to the end of the episode with the flower field. Look at it. You'll see three swords on each side of his hip. yo, this man's about to six sword style. I mean, he's about to beat the shit out of, Zoro from One Piece. He's going six sword style. He's about to kick some ass. So seeing this man holding six swords, he's going all in. He's about to fight. I'm like, yo, this man is epic. And the way he actually has this hatred towards the White Well, and it was kind of slightly hinted at too, because the way Subaru and Wilhelm's like interactions were when, Subaru was attacking him and fighting, and how Wilhelm just stopped, caring to train him. I think it was because it's trying to foreshadow the emotions that Wilhelm feels towards the White Well, and how he sees Subaru as kind of feeling something very similar, like he has this, vengeance in his eyes, or he doesn't care anymore or something. Wilhelm is looking probably at his previous self in his previous, part of his life, and he's like, I can't do this. I can't, fuel this desire he has, because he has no desire to move past what's going on. And so I do like that scene. I like how that was kind of foreshadowed with his character, and how it was done with Subaru. That was wonderful. And then on top of that too, but the way he starts explaining kind of more about his backstory of what happened, I was thrown away, because this man reveals that he was married to the Master Swordsman. And let's just think about this. When I heard the Master Swordsman, I think we can all agree, I thought it was a guy. I did. And I assumed it was a guy, and that was my critical error right there. I assumed the Master Swordsman was a guy, but no. It's not a guy. Definitely not a guy. And wow. So, Wilhelm was married to the Master Swordsman, which apparently died to the White Well. And this is something very suspicious right now. I mean, I've discussed this already, I think, in my episode 16 or 17 review. It was around there. I discussed it. I discussed how it's really weird how everybody remembers the Master Swordsman and certain people that have probably died, but they couldn't remember someone like Rim or, that merchant dude that disappeared on the cart. Like, people couldn't remember them. And my only conclusion I have right now, since the well was called, like, Gluttony, I'm assuming it has something to do with eating someone. Like, if the well eats someone, that makes it to where people can't remember you. If you're, like, let's say, crushed by the well or something, or if your bones are broken, like, what happened to Subaru and, that episode when the well was trying to kill him, and Subaru wanted to live and it disappeared. I wanted to bet if Subaru would have died to those wounds, like if he would have got even more injured, nobody would have forgotten about him, because, it's like a natural death, or like a regular death. It wasn't something that was like, being devoured by a well, and then your entire existence gets erased. I'm assuming that's kind of how it works. The well, if it eats you, your existence disappears. But if it kills you, crushes you, or whatever, and roars, and you break your bones, most likely you're completely fine. Like, everybody will remember you. I'm assuming that's how the power works. There is something that was very suspicious about this episode, and since I rewatched the episode twice, I started seeing something that was very off. One of the things I saw, and I don't know if it has any meaning. There could be a lot of meaning behind it. I don't know, because like I said, anime only. Majority of us are pretty much anime only, unless you're Japanese and you could read the web novel series and the light novel. But there was a scene in this episode to where Crush, she grabs her sword. Like, she looks down at her blade, her sword. And you see this symbol, this crest on it, and I wonder what that means. I wonder what that's trying to imply, because I was looking at the opening. I was rewatching the opening, because I love the opening of, ReZero. I love opening 2. I love part 1s. I love part 2s as well. And in the opening, you see it to where Crush is going up against the well. She has this battle armor on. Oh my god, she looks badass in battle armor, by the way. But her battle armor, she has the battle armor on, she has a sword, she's going up against the White Well. You see it in the opening song. And as I was looking at the episode, I'm like, judging by how anime usually are, the way stuff like this usually happens, when a sword gets, like, some form of, like, look at, like, how it gets a quick glimpse, and we get to see, like, the crest on it, and then, how it gets some focus, like a spotlight, like a quick couple seconds. Usually that means that sword, or whatever that crest is very important. And if I had to place my money on the table, and now, I can be wrong. I'm just gonna say right now, I could be wrong. But I'm gonna place my money on the table and say, the sword is probably from the Master Swordsman, Wilhelm's wife. I feel like that is what the sword came from. And if so, that raises questions. Now, I'm just throwing this out there, okay? I'm throwing this out there. Could be wrong. Just throwing it out there, okay? Don't take it with a grain of salt. What if Wilhelm was the father of Crush? What if? Just, like I said, I could be wrong. Just hypothetical. What if? What if Crush is the daughter of Wilhelm and all that, and he's just, being a butler and all that, and it's just being hidden, and he's watching over her, and, she is the royal candidate and all that, and, that's the daughter, and then she carried on the legacy of her mother, and is having the sword. What if? Anyways, I am done. It was a wonderful episode. I can't wait to see more. Oh my. I love ReZero. I love this series. I love this series. Can't wait to see more. It's a fantastic watch every week. And yeah, you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.